In the far east of Minnesota, where a wild river bends through miles of pine and hardwood forest, lies the largest state park in the state. It is a place of deep woods and dark water, of a river so untamed the nation set it aside as forever wild, and of quiet log and stone shelters built by young hands in the years of the Great Depression. Welcome to St. Croix State Park. We are in Pine County, in the eastern woods of Minnesota, close to the Wisconsin border. Here, the St. Croix River forms the boundary between the two states, and along its Minnesota bank spreads a vast expanse of protected forest. This is the quiet, northern edge of the great eastern woodlands, where prairie has long given way to trees. St. Croix is the largest state park in all of Minnesota, sprawling across some 34,000 acres of rolling forest. That is a wilderness the size of a small city, a mosaic of red and white pine, of oak and aspen and maple, laced with creeks and lakes and long forest roads. A person could walk here for days and never cross the same ground twice. The river that gives the park its name is no ordinary river. In 1968, the St. Croix became one of the very first streams in the country protected under the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, guarded forever against dams and development. It runs clean and free between wooded banks, one of the last great wild rivers of the upper Midwest, flowing much as it did for centuries. Within the park, the St. Croix gathers a second wild stream to itself. Here it meets the Kettle River, tumbling in from the west, and the two waters join and flow on together toward the Mississippi far to the south. It is a meeting place of currents, a confluence that has drawn travelers to this spot for as long as people have moved through these woods. And people have moved through them for a very long time. This was the country of the Dakota and later of the Ojibwe, who lived along these rivers and lakes, gathering wild rice, tapping the maples, and hunting the deep forest. The river was their highway, their larder, and their home, and their long presence is woven into the very land the park now protects. In time, the river became a road of commerce. The St. Croix was a vital artery of the fur trade, part of a canoe route linking Lake Superior to the Mississippi. French voyageurs paddled these waters heavy with bundles of fur, following paths the native peoples had shown them. For generations, the quiet of these woods was broken by the dip of the paddle and the songs of the boatmen. Then came the axe. In the 19th century, these forests were among the Great Pineries of Minnesota, and the towering white pines were cut and floated downriver by the millions to feed a growing nation. The land was logged nearly bare, its giants gone, and what remained was a wounded country of stumps and brush, seemingly used up and left behind. and the cut-over land was ready to burn. On the 1st of September, 1894, a firestorm swept this region, the Great Hinckley Fire, roaring through the dry slash and timber and consuming whole towns in a matter of hours. More than 400 people lost their lives. It was one of the deadliest fires in American history, and its memory is burned into the story of these woods. From that ruined land in the depths of the Great Depression, this park was born. In the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps came to the worn-out ground, and young men planted trees, built roads, and raised the rustic shelters, cabins, and stone and log buildings that still stand today. Their handiwork was so fine that the park is now a National Historic Landmark, honored for the quiet artistry of its Depression-era design. And slowly the forest came back. Where the great pines once fell and the fires once raged, new woods have risen, patient and green, over the better part of a century. The trees are young by the measure of the old pineries, but they are tall and thickening, and the land grows wilder with every passing year, healing the wounds of a harder age. With the forest have returned its creatures. White-tailed deer slip through the aspen, and black bears forage in the berry thickets. Bald eagles ride the river currents overhead, and in the deep timber the timber wolf has come home, its long howl once more part of the northern night. This is a living wilderness, full and wild again. There is no finer time to see it than autumn. As the days shorten, the hardwoods turn, and the maples and oaks and aspens set the forest ablaze in scarlet and gold against the steady dark green of the pines. The river runs cool and clear beneath the color, and the whole country seems lit from within, in one last brilliant blaze before the long winter. To travel here is to travel the old way. Canoes still glide the St Croix, drifting past wooded banks to quiet backcountry campsites reached only from the water. And more than 100 miles of trails thread the forest, for hikers and horses alike, leading deep into country where the loudest sound is the wind moving through the tops of the pines. That is the rare gift of this place. Within the reach of the modern world, it holds a true and open wilderness, a great stretch of forest and river where a person can lose the sound of engines entirely and feel, if only for a while, how vast and quiet this land once was. It is a piece of the old North woods, kept whole. A wild river kept forever free, a forest risen from fire and axe, and quiet log shelters raised by young hands in a hard time. St Croix holds the whole story of the North Woods within its borders. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.